Hey everyone, I'm Ed from Hustle Badger, and I'm really excited today to have Jacob Bank, who is the CEO of Relay, with me.
Anything like content creation where it's going to publish in your voice on LinkedIn or on Twitter, you got to review the output to make sure it sounds like you. Bet you every single person should have 5 or 6 AI tools that do that. You might want to just be alerted, like, hey, this bug's been assigned to Ed for 2.5 weeks and he hasn't touched it yet. Like, you might want to just check in to see if he's even aware of it. It's not about kind of ChatGPT style live iteration on your text or Perplexity style research. It's really about taking on operational tasks that are part of your day job and doing them automatically across your tools.
Hey everyone, I'm Ed from Hustle Badger, and I'm really excited today to have Jacob Bank, who is the CEO of Relay, with me. Relay is a platform for creating AI agents. Have I got that right, Jacob? Is that doing you justice?
Yes, AI agents is the buzzword of the day, but I can maybe explain a little bit in more detail what Relay.app is and why you might want to use it. It's a platform indeed to create both AI workflows and AI agents. And the idea is that these workflows and agents can connect to all the apps you actually use in your day-to-day work and therefore can take on meaningful work on your behalf. For example, where it can connect automatically to your Fireflies to pull the transcripts from your customer meetings, extract bugs and usability issues automatically, and then file them to the right list in Linear. And so this is not about kind of ChatGPT style live iteration on your text or Perplexity style research. Those are things you can do with the tool. It's really about taking on operational tasks that are part of your day job and doing them automatically across your tools, of course, while keeping you in the loop as necessary.
Amazing. Well, really excited to see this workflow that you're going to demo for us. Let's jump straight into it.
Yeah, let's just jump straight in and work on a specific use case, and then as I go, I'll talk about some of the techniques that might be relevant, and also you'll see some ideas for other use cases as we go. So what I have here is the Relay.app workflow creation experience, and you can see that the first thing I'm prompted to do is to add a trigger. So in Relay.app, like many other tools in the category, whether it's Zapier or Make or N8N or Lindy, every workflow starts with a trigger, and this is the event that invokes the AI to wake up and start doing work on your behalf. And I highly recommend thinking carefully about your trigger because the easiest way for AI to run wild is for it to be invoked at times when it's not actually needed. And it'll end up doing a bunch of work on your behalf that'll cause you a bunch of distraction and waste you a bunch of time and money, but not actually be necessary. So in this case, the trigger I want to set up is I want to get the transcripts of all of my customer meetings, or I want to trigger for each time a new customer meeting has finished, and I want to process that transcript. So I'm going to go to the Add Trigger menu, and you'll see there's a few different types of triggers. Some workflows, like the one we're going to be doing in this demo, are started based on an action in an app. In this case, a new Fireflies transcript being created. Other workflows you may want to trigger manually, like competitive research analysis that you write into a spreadsheet. Other workflows you might want to trigger on a scheduled basis, like a daily summary of all open bugs that were filed in the last 24 hours. Some can be triggered based on RSS feed. Fun fact, you can actually subscribe to an RSS feed of a YouTube channel. And so I have a bunch of use cases that I like where I follow YouTube channels of competitors and other relevant kind of thought leaders in the space and can automatically summarize what they're talking about and maybe either create content of my own or use it. And then these last two options are more technical. You can create workflows from internal systems. So for example, something that's probably relevant for every single PM. I bet every single PM has some set of automated actions that they want to happen when a new user signs up for their product. You might want to add them to an onboarding email drip campaign. You might want to send them a personal email if you're earlier stage. You might want to look up their information and enrich their contact and profile details by like finding their LinkedIn profile. And so what you'd use in that case is you would send a webhook from your own internal system to Relay.app, and then you could build the rest of that kind of enrichment and personalized onboarding in Relay. So that's a quick tour of the different types of triggers you want and an example use case for each. But like I said, in this case, we're just going to start with a Fireflies trigger. So I'm going to scroll down in my menu to Fireflies, and you'll see the trigger we have there is transcript created, which, as you can imagine, fires when a transcript is created from a new meeting.
And Fireflies is one of these AI transcription services like Otter,
Exactly.
Granola, like all those sorts of things, right?
Exactly. Okay, bug report generator is what I'm going to call this workflow. And now I'm going to go back into Fireflies. I'll go a little faster this time, and I'll pick transcript created. So what you'll see on the right here is that it's going to show me a preview of recently created transcripts that would have initiated this workflow had they run. Okay, so now once I have a transcript, I can actually see what is the data that's going to be available for me in that transcript. And I often recommend inspecting the data from your trigger because this is the key information that the AI is going to need to use to do anything intelligent. And if the underlying data is not there, the AI can't possibly succeed in its task, and you'll get some really confusing error messages. And so you can see here that Fireflies gives me the title of the meeting, the date, the duration, the organizer email, the participants. Fireflies actually already extracts the action items, which is pretty cool, the keywords, and then they have the full transcript, which is what I want in this case.
I think this is one of the things that I really love about Relay is the fact that it's so easy to see at each stage what you're getting and to figure out like, is it working? What am I going to put into the next step? And it just makes the whole build process much easier.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make an AI step where I'm going to ask my AI to review this transcript. And you can do this. You could have a variety of different reasons you'd want to review the transcript from a customer call. You could be looking for highlighted quotes that signal a pain point, or highlighted quotes that signal frustration with a competitor, or highlighted quotes that signal things they love about your product. In my case, I want to actually extract bug reports and usability issues explicitly, because this call or many of my calls are onboarding and demo calls. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add an AI step, and I'm going to pull up this add step menu. And here you can see all of the automated actions that you can add to your workflow. You can create actions in an app, like sending an email in Gmail or filing a bug in Linear. You can add flow control logic that governs, what the structure of the workflow looks like a conditional path or a loop across many items. I'll show you how to use a loop in an iterator in just a moment. An AI step, which is what we're going to do now, and are kind of the centerpiece of every workflow, which is like, what is the intelligent thing you're asking the AI to do with the data? You can scrape text from the web. You could add a human in the loop. And we have a bunch of other sort of relevant utilities. But in this case, I'm going to pick AI step, and I'm going to choose the first option, prompt any model. So now let me write a prompt and say, given the transcript of a customer meeting, please identify a list of all bugs and usability issues that were encountered. And if you were doing this for real, you'd probably want to iterate on your prompt a little bit and make sure it actually finds the stuff that you care about. And this is crucial. You need to give the AI access to the data that it needs to take action here. And so this is what differentiates an experience like Relay from an experience like ChatGPT. In Relay, because it's running in the context of a repeated workflow, it can have access to data automatically pulled in from Fireflies or from your calendar or from your email or from your bug tracking system. In this case, I'm just going to attach the transcript from the Fireflies meeting. You can see that it's using GPT 4.1 as the model by default. I can switch this to Gemini 2.0 Flash if I want, or I can upgrade to Anthropic 3.5 Sonnet if I want this to be really, really good. And then you'll see on the right, this is kind of interesting. So in ChatGPT, you put in text and it spits out text. But in the context of a running workflow, sometimes you want text because you want to spit out an email or a Slack message or a Google Doc. But in many cases in a workflow like this, you actually want structured data because you want to take that data and you want to do something with it in another tool that has a structured format, like a spreadsheet or an Airtable or a Notion or a CRM, or in this case, a bug tracking tool. And so you can see here that as I type that prompt, we tried to infer what output type we think you want based on that prompt. So in this case, you can see that the AI was smart enough to know that I do want structured data. I want a list of responses. And for each response, I want a bug or usability issue and a description. And I could even add more detail here and see, please output for each bug title, bug description, severity. And you'll see that as I type that, the AI is going to think, and it's going to update the structured response. So I'm now going to get a bug title, a bug description, and a bug severity, which is exactly what I want in this case. Then for every AI step, you can have a person review the output. And so this, I think, is really critical for anything like content creation where it's going to publish in your voice on LinkedIn or on Twitter. You got to review the output to make sure it sounds like you. Anything that's going to do a high stakes interaction with your customer, you want to review the output, in my opinion. If it's just an internal low stakes use case like this one, you may not need a human in the loop, because in this case, I don't really need to review every single bug that gets created because I already have a bug triage process using AI that's going to figure out if the bug is actually worth giving to a human or not. So in this case, I'm not going to have a human output, but I could add it. And then you also need to figure out, what are you going to do if the AI can't do this job? Because that's, in these sort of scenarios, that's a when, not an if. It could happen for a bunch of reasons. Maybe the transcript is empty for some reason. Maybe because it was a no-show meeting, which happens sometimes. And sometimes Firefly still joins a no-show meeting. Maybe there were no bugs or usability issues in the thing. Maybe the model had a temporary error and got confused. So there will always be cases where the AI doesn't work, and you need to decide what you want to do about that. And so what could you do? You could end the run. You could just say, like, hey, if you can't do the task, and that's what we're going to do in this case. If you can't find anything, we're done. Like, we don't need to proceed. Or you can show an error and notify the run owner. If it's something that you really expect to succeed and need to succeed, you might want to give an error to yourself so that you can go in and fix whatever was broken. Maybe you gave the AI the wrong data. Maybe you wrote a bad prompt. Or if it's optional, you can continue without an AI output. And so there are scenarios where you might want to do either of these three things. In this case, if the AI can't extract any bugs or usability issues, I just want to end the run, because the rest of the workflow is not going to make sense. Okay, so now this output, and I can retitle this step to generate bugs. And you can see that this output is going to give me a list of responses with a title, a bug description, and a severity. And when you have a step that outputs a list, you pretty much always want to do one of two things. One would be you want to iterate over that list and perform an action for each item. And so in this case, we want to iterate over the bugs from this transcript. But you could similarly imagine you want to iterate over the action items that are extracted from a meeting, or you want to iterate over the guests that were attendees of a meeting to create a briefing for each one of them. So one common pattern is I got a list of stuff, I want to iterate on it and iterate over it and perform an automated action for each one. In another case, you might want to just pass that to an AI step to synthesize. So for example, I have a bunch of other workflows that have a form where they run every day. They look up some content, either from our internal data, like what are all the bugs filed in the last 24 hours? What are all the customer calls from the last 24 hours? Give me a digest of all the new users from the last 24 hours. And then it passes all of that information into an AI step to synthesize it and says, give me a summary of all the new users that have signed up in the last hour. So when you have a list, you either want to use an iterator or you want to use another AI step to kind of synthesize and analyze that list. So in this case, I'm going to use an iterator. And the list I'm going to iterate over is the list of responses from the bug generation that we just did. And now for each one, I want to go to linear and I want to create an issue for each item. And I'm going to create an issue in the Relay team. And now you'll see I can pull in the information that the AI deduced about the bug to file the issue. So I'm going to put in the issue title, I'm going to pull in the bug title that the AI produced. For the description, I'm going to pull in the bug description. I'm going to leave severity out for now because we don't actually use severity as a signal in our bug filing, but you might. And so now this is going to iterate over those things, and it's going to create an issue for each one. Now, for testing purposes, and maybe forever, I'm going to add a human in the loop here, where before you file the bug, I just want you to check with me before you do so. And this is a useful technique. You might want to do this, like I mentioned with the AI review of the output, you might want to do this always, or you might want to do it just in an initial sort of bootstrapping phase as you're figuring out if the AI is actually good at the task that you're asking it to do. So I'm going to say send myself a Slack DM, and then I can include in the message what I want to be asked about or told. So I'm going to say, should we file this bug? And then I'm going to reference the, I'm going to close the picture. I'm going to reference the bug title, and I'm going to reference the bug description. I should actually write title, description. Okay. So now I have a complete workflow. Whenever a Fireflies transcript is completed, it's going to try to generate the bugs. It's For each bug, it's going to ask me if I should file a bug in Linear automatically. Let me run through that once and show you how it works. So let me pull in a transcript from a real meeting I did yesterday. Actually, don't know if there are any bugs or usability issues in this one, but let's see. The AI is running and trying to generate bugs. It's funny, for use cases like this, it's like pretty excruciating because it's running in real time. In most real situations, this would be running, behind the scenes and you wouldn't notice it's happening. So you can see that the AI produced 5 bugs and usability issues. The first was the CRM system not properly syncing with Airtable. The second bug was Ring Central limitations. The third was audio processing size limitations. The fourth was voice note transcription quality. And the fifth was Airtable loading. So it turns out that 1, 4, and 5 were actually not bugs and usability issues in Relay.app, but bugs and usability issues in other products in the user's environment. Yeah. So I should probably go back to the prompt now and say, please make sure to only find bugs and usability issues in Relay.app. If they're talking about a bug or an issue in another tool, like don't include it in the summary. But in this case, because I have this human in the loop step, I have an option. So it's going to give me, for each of these 5 iterations, it's going to tell me what to do. And so in this case, for this first issue with CRM and Airtable, no, I don't want to approve this because it's not a relevant issue for Relay. So I can hit end the run. Sorry, I should have hit end iteration there. That was my bad. And so I just ended the run and I didn't create any of those issues. What I would want to do instead now is I'd go back to the prompt and I'd modify it to say only find issues in Relay.app. And then I could turn this workflow into something that was running for real. So that took us, 15 minutes, and with a lot of pauses and explanations along the way, to create actually a pretty useful workflow that if you're a product team that does usability calls or customer calls or user research calls, and you don't yet have a process for extracting things that are actually bugs, this can be really, really useful for you.
That was a great example, and obviously you could you don't need to stick these in Linear, right? You could be sticking in pull quotes into a spreadsheet and getting
totally spreadsheet, Airtable, Notion, Asana, Linear, ClickUp, Jira. You could stick them into a structure. And this example is a little bit contrived because I agree. You probably don't want to take these bugs and put them directly into Linear. You probably would want some intermediate representation of a document, and then you'd synthesize across multiple documents, review those with your team, and then automatically put in the bugs. And so one of the things that I think is important to keep in mind with a tool like Relay is often when you have native integrations between 2 tools, like let's say you have a native integration between GitHub and Linear, or I don't think Fireflies and Linear have a native integration, but native integrations tend to be very prescriptive in exactly what you can do. Like, a Linear issue maps one-to-one to a GitHub pull request, and they keep this association. And those can be very nice for those sort of structured, rigid sessions where you want a one-to-one correspondence. But anything like this that's a little more subtle, which is like, I want to extract some action items. I want to analyze them a little bit more myself. I might want to have a human in the loop for each one. And then I want to put them in Linear or Asana. That's where a tool like Relay can be very valuable.
And I mean, this is a great example, just showing what Relay can do and how you kind of like build an individual workflow. But what are some of the kind of most interesting or popular use cases you see for product managers in general?
So for product managers, I would say the use cases divide into 2 classes. There's personal productivity, which is helping you, manage your email, manage your calendar, manage your to-do list. And then there's your functional responsibilities. So let me give you some examples kind of in each category. In personal productivity, every single person should have an AI workflow or agent that briefs them for their upcoming meetings. This is like a no-brainer to make sure you're prepared for a meeting. If it's an external meeting, you should be looking at the LinkedIn profile of that person automatically and creating a bit of a dossier on them. If it's an internal meeting, you should look up the notes from previous recent meetings so you know what this meeting is about. You should also have a simple thing that's like, whenever you have a meeting with someone and they haven't RSVP'd yet, you should send them a reminder 3 hours before. If it's someone that you think is a high no-show risk because you've never met them before, you should also, send them a reminder 1 hour before. You should always send a meeting follow-up. Always send a meeting follow-up of what was discussed, what are you going to do next? Again, if that's the kind of meeting for for which that makes sense. Every single person should have AI helping them with their email, automatically classifying certain things, triaging certain items, summarizing and aggregating things like newsletters, automatically extracting information from their email to make it easier to schedule calendar events or to create tasks. And then everyone should be using some AI to help them with their personal task list. Look at things that are 7 days old that I haven't touched yet. If something's 7 days old and I haven't touched it yet, am I really ever going to do it? Almost certainly not. And so the AI can help you build hygiene. So that's one thing I would recommend everyone. Think about kind of your personal productivity system. How can you spend less time on email? How can you come into meetings more prepared? How can you follow up from meetings more effectively? How can you manage your personal to-do list? And I bet you every single person should have 5 or 6 AI tools that do that. I can actually show you mine. I can show you my real.
How many of these do you have running?
About 200. Not in personal productivity, but across functional responsibility as well. So here's my personal productivity folder, and I have this divided into calendar, email, and tasks. And so you can see in calendar, I have meeting briefings, meeting follow-ups, meeting summaries, guest RSVP reminders, and auto adding of events from Gmail to Google Calendar. I think basically everyone can benefit from those same use cases. In email, I automatically deal with like spam, cold emails. I automatically summarize all the newsletters I get. And I have a thing that helps me reply to emails in other languages. We have a lot of users and customers who send us emails in their native language. And so I have a step that automatically translates it. I write my reply in English, and then it automatically translates it back. So that's in terms of personal productivity, your email, your to-do list, your calendar. And that's not really specific to PMs. That's just like generally relevant to any knowledge worker. Then there are your functional responsibilities. So what do you do as a PM? I bet you do some competitive research. I bet that's part of your job, to understand what competitors are doing. And so I have a host of workflows for competitive research. Whenever our competitor posts a YouTube video, I know about it. Whenever their founder posts on LinkedIn, I know about it. Whenever they make a change to their pricing page, I know about it. Whenever they add a blog post, I know about it. Whenever they have a feature launch, I know about it. And so in some cases, I send myself notifications for these things. In some cases, I write them into a spreadsheet that tracks updates. And in some cases, I create like a weekly or a monthly competitive analysis document. So that's part of every PM's job. I bet every PM deals with bug, issue, and task management. And so the use case I showed there was an example where you can automatically extract, bugs from transcripts of user calls. It can also be really useful if you have some process internally where like salespeople can file bugs or feature requests. You might want to have a little AI pass to see if there's enough information to even consider it as a bug or feature request. And if not, to go back to the sales team. You probably want to have a daily summary of open issues. You probably want a daily summary of open issues for VIP customers. You probably want a daily summary of open issues that affect a customer that you're trying to close right now. You probably want to have some AI systems to automatically nudge people when bugs have been on their plate or tasks have been on their plate for a long time. And again, I'd keep a human in the loop here because no one likes fully auto-generated nudges, telling them to fix a bug. But you might want to just be alerted, like, hey, this bug's been assigned to Ed for 2.5 weeks and he hasn't touched it yet. Like, you might want to just check in to see if he's even aware of it or if he cares about doing it.
Right.
So that's sort of like bug management, project management. Everyone should be doing customer research, user and customer research. You can get syntheses and analyses from your customer calls. You can do research on new users when they sign up for your product and enrich them with a LinkedIn profile, and maybe even have the AI generate some use cases that may be relevant for them. I could go on and on, and I realize that we are at time, but hopefully that gives people sort of a good idea of if you're a PM and you're thinking, I don't really know what I would use an AI workflow or an AI agent for. I hope that last 2 minutes gave you like at least 5 ideas that you could think about going and trying for yourself now.
No, that's amazing. And certainly what I'm seeing with people is as soon as you start to build one or two, actually, it's not like you run out of ideas and you kind of work through the list of ideas you want. It's like
so here's a little hack.
One of these, you get like 5 more ideas.
Here's a little hack that I do is I go and I use my product for this, but you could do it anywhere. I write folders. I create a folder for each responsibility of my job. So I create a folder for email marketing, a folder for social media marketing, a folder for customer research, a folder for competitive research, a folder for personal productivity. And just when I have that folder, I think, oh man, I should be using AI somehow to help me with competitive research. Yeah. And then sometimes when I go back and revisit a folder, I'm like, oh, there's only one thing in that folder. So for example, we have a folder that's like AI market updates. And then I went into that folder yesterday and I was like, okay, we're monitoring Perplexity for new launches. We're monitoring OpenAI for new launches. We're monitoring Anthropic for new launches, but we're not monitoring Gemini or Midjourney. And you're like, what are we doing? And you just like, you can then spot the gaps. You can spot the gaps in the setup by inspecting your folder structure.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, look, Jacob, this has been fantastic. There's been like so much information and practical tips there in a really short time. I would love to chat to you for a lot longer,
Yes.
but unfortunately, we're out of time. Yeah,
So
thank you for coming on and being so generous with your knowledge.
happy to. So let's definitely do it again. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me, feel free to connect on LinkedIn or email me directly at jacob@relay.app.
Great.